If you like audiobooks or audio shows, check out a free trial of Audible. Just click the link in the description.
Welcome to MINDSHOCK True Crime. This is the Emma Fillipoff series, Episode 5, More Theories. We are going to examine even more theories in that mysterious Emma Fillipoff case. And this is a disappearance that is quite perplexing, for lack of a better word. And like many other missing persons cases, of course, closure and resolution, obviously, for her family and for her, if she is indeed the victim of some kind of a crime, is, of course, the goal in this case, as well as all missing persons cases and unsolved cases. And we will be continuing the examination here in typical MINDSHOCK fashion with logic and reason at the forefront. I'm, of course, your host, Bruce McGuire, and if you want to help support the MINDSHOCK podcast, help get more mind-shocking content out there and keep up awareness in all these types of cases, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. You can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube for access to exclusive streams and chats. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications, like and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case topic, logical analysis, co-podcast, or requests. You could also be a guest in the podcast depending on your tier. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comments section. So I am actually going to go over some posts here by a PI just to set the stage here. Of course, if you haven't checked out the first 4 episodes, check those out because we lay the groundwork and go over all available information in this case. And now we are going to examine further still even more wrinkles in the case and other possibilities and clues not yet discussed in this case. So, Redditor by the name of Magnum posted this. I'm a former PI in Ontario. I have started investigating this case looking for anything that might have been missed. I'm doing this as a project in my spare time. Anything I find that may have been passed on or discovered yet to an acquaintance of the mother. I have passed on small things that I think might eventually be potentially important down the road. If anyone has anything that they want to know, please contact me. Want to let me know, please contact me. I have no interest in the reward. I just do this for 2 reasons. Just as a project, as I have an interest in missing persons cases, and I would like to see the family have answers to what happened to Emma. I am interested in any pictures, emails, and even hear about anything regarding her life and disappearance. I have been going through several videos, podcasts, and articles, all of which are very basic and repetitive. If anyone from the Victoria area has anything to add, please contact me. Thanks. So someone asked here, what have others overlooked? Response, I've just looked at maps, possible paths or trails she may have taken, if she was the one, in fact, that dropped the prepaid Visa card. Been in the PI field and security industry, you also learn to read people's body language and behaviors. I pointed out that the bank card was found in an area across the road from a casino. I worked as security in a casino owned by the same company, Great Canadian Gaming Corporation. They often offer free soda and coffee at their casinos. If they were open during the time Emma was in the area, she may have gone in to get a drink. Plus, they always have cameras inside and out. They may have caught her walking somewhere, confirming she was actually in this area, thus increasing the timeline and last known area of travel. However, it's up to Victoria PD to do this, but they are not very proactive in this case for some reason, and very reluctant to give or provide any details. And I actually went over this in the previous episodes, too, on how there's some shady business going on between certain groups in this area, the government, the police. I mean, there's a lot of shady business going on, and of course that can impede certain investigations, even if, again, I'm not claiming any government officials are responsible for disappearance, whether they are or they are not. Even if they are not, there could still be some elements that just are not interested in pursuing this and will not allocate resources to do such, possibly based on people Emma may have been affiliated with who had a pretty anti-government slant or whatnot. Continuing on here, and I don't necessarily believe in the mental health breakdown. I believe that mercury poisoning could be a very strong possibility. I urged them to find hair samples in Emma's belongings and have them tested. The symptoms are very close to action signs and behaviors exhibited by Emma. By determining this could change the perspective of how people are looking at the case. And we addressed some of that as well in previous episodes. Another post here by KN. Hello, I live close to Emma's hometown. I don't have any info on the case except what is known by everyone else, but I am very interested in your theory and would love to know more if you are willing to share. I think you make some great points, and I wish the Victoria PD would look into it more and take this case more seriously. I wonder why they are so closed about it and not willing to offer more information or help. Kind of odd to me. Also, going back to the casino angle, yeah, you would think obviously any legitimate investigation would have checked the security at the casino. But not just that, but also interview people at the casino, because if they do give out free drinks, and just knowing whether Emma would have gone in there, even if it was a different day, just to kind of establish known paths of travel and move from there, and then try to trace that timeline, or if anything else, just find more people that might have seen Emma either that day or previous days, just for more information. The more information you have, the more you can investigate. Another post here. I wonder if anyone else has been to Colwood and asked locals about Emma, or if anyone there actually does know her and confirmed that she was headed there. This case just drives me nuts. I think the casino theory is very interesting and could very well be possible. I wish I had means to get to Victoria, and I would honestly do some of my own investigating. The cadaver dogs got nothing on the most recent search. However, another one is due this spring, I believe. I would love to get out there and help. And these are old posts, so not recent. Magnum responded, if you do a search for Emma, I have posted quite a bit, plus I have offered a few theories. I don't publicly release all information I come across, as I don't want to steer possible scenarios in the wrong direction until I can confirm and research many of my own findings. When I do find something or have a sound theory, I notify the Find Emma Instagram page. Okay. So another poster wrote this, user Right Place, WRITE. The privacy laws have been a stumbling block for sure, but I can see how important they are, especially in this case. There is info that just can't be released for Emma's sake. There are clues in the journal, which the search team was privy to. Specifically, a page labeled First Day of Spring 2012. It's a massive clue. Not sure who are you referring to that lives in Victoria and knows her. Chances are the search team has spoken with him. It should be noted that before Emma went missing, she lived in Campbell River, but also Keremos, and spent a brief time in Nelson, British Columbia, where she attended Shambhala. She had relatives there, and several reports of a hitchhiker matching her description reported to RCMP summer 2013. She could be anywhere, especially if the green shirt guy does know her and he has status. She has a serious interest in native culture. So I don't know if we talked about that extensively, the interest in native culture and how that might affect, if she did make it out of the area, and where she would be staying after all of this. Is there a native connection we don't know about, or other native friends, and she might even possibly be staying on a reservation or something like that? Now, I couldn't really find any info on Native American connections, but if she is happy and living on some kind of Native American reservation, or was for a period of time, and then, got in a certain position or place where she could have moved on again, all according to her own will, perhaps it's all by design, and she asked for those, the people that helped her, if, again, this was connected to some kind of Native American angle, to not reveal this information. So if that's the case, that could possibly explain that. But here's something we haven't talked about, and this has actually bothered me for quite some time. There's a timeline issue here. So I've talked about the van, and I do think that figuring out the van situation is critical in the timeline. Again, whether she disappeared of her own volition or something bad happened to her. Or, again, the theory that she did disappear of her own free will, everything was fine, and then, whatever period of time later, if she was harmed, it was way, 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 way later, months later, so it has nothing to do with the specific instances in the time immediately preceding her disappearance. Although, again, I wouldn't bet on it. Again, I'm not claiming anything is true or untrue. This is MINDSHOCK, where the only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure. But Emma Fillipoff has technically been missing since November 28th, 2012, from the front of the Empress Hotel in Victoria, British Columbia. November 28th, 2012. So, in her possessions in the van is her Canon 40D, a semi-pro DSLR that was a gift from her mother. On the camera card, several portraits. So the last ones were taken in spring 2012. So she hadn't used it since spring. So she goes missing November 28th. These portraits taken, actually the latest one supposedly June 3rd, 2012. If the data is accurate here. We have May 16th and June 3rd. And then nothing for months. So it's kind of, I don't know. That seems to be a little bit of an issue. Now, did she have another camera? Or this was the nice camera, but why? So it's in her van. Would she really leave without her possessions? That's another issue there. Or was she just so frustrated she couldn't get the van back? There was a tow situation. We went over all these possibilities. She's trying to get the van back. I mean, we went over this in the previous episode, so check those out. There could be issues there. But, yeah, there's a little bit more info here on this November 28th, 2020 article on vancouverisland.ctvnews.ca. Have you seen Emma Fillipoff? New photos released on 8-year anniversary of her disappearance. And also, Ontario cold case search spans the country for missing Emma Fillipoff, orangeville.com. This was from September 5th, 2019. Some excerpts here. In the days leading up to Emma's disappearance, Kimberly learned a lot of her movements, including one of her last entries in Emma's journal dated November 23rd, 2012. Sleep deep hurts. Checked myself out. Mom is coming. It's November 23rd. Have to get home before Dad goes. I want to call Dad. You're going home tomorrow. According to Shelley, Emma's father, James Fillipoff, an artist, keeps to himself and hasn't talked to anyone about the search for his daughter after a CBC Fifth Estate episode which aired December 23rd, 2014. He doesn't want to talk about it, Shelley said. And again, before people jump on that, like maybe he does know what happened and Emma left of her own free will and he knows that, whatever. Or, again, if this affected him that deeply, he doesn't want to talk about it. I mean, both scenarios are clearly very plausible. I mean, and you see both in missing persons cases, so. James did say on the television broadcast that whatever happened to Emma, he hoped it was her choice. And again, so he didn't completely never talk to anybody ever. He did make that statement. It's also possible she might have contacted, if she disappeared of her own free will, she may have contacted him since then, after his appearance on the Fifth Estate. So, or these interviews, wherever these quotes are taken from. So that's a possibility as well, and he didn't want to talk after she had contacted him and told him not to talk about it. So again, we have many different possible scenarios here. Emma's possessions. So, in the original search of Emma's van, found her camera, a Canon 40D semi-pro DSLR that was a gift from her mother. On the camera card were several self-portraits, the latest ones taken in spring 2012, which have been used in media releases and newscasts. She was a very adept photographer, Shelley said. She studied photojournalism before she studied culinary arts. She was working as a chef/cook in Campbell River for 3 years. The only reason she stopped is because she has a congenital knee disorder, and it was bothering her back a lot. A chef is on her feet all day long. She terminated her employment to come home and see our orthopedic surgeon in 2011 and then headed back out west in September 2011. She hasn't been home since. Okay, so this little detail, I actually don't remember going over that. So here we have a history here. So she wasn't afraid to come home. She had went home, unless some people, the people that say that she had issues with the family, etc., unless some more issues happened when she went home then. But clearly at that time in September 2011, if this is all verified, she left her job, so she has a congenital knee disorder, and it bothers her back. So what's with all of so again after she got this so she went to see the orthopedic surgeon. What happened with the orthopedic surgeon? I mean, did they do something? Did they fix that issue and then she was able to walk all this time after that? And if they didn't fix that issue, I mean, because supposedly she takes all these long walks. So I mean, these are critical details as well. Okay, another critical detail here. I don't know if they're reading from the diary entry that PI referred to, but this is right at the beginning of Emma Fillipoff, The Fifth Estate.
Her life is about to change forever. 26-year-old Emma Fillipoff is seen here on the store's surveillance camera. She comes in to buy a cell phone. But watch her. She's in no rush to leave the store. Pacing back and forth to the door, looking out. What is out there? Is she hiding from someone? Or is it all in her mind? Her journal entries reveal her growing fear.
I feel like there's someone following me. A car on the hill when I rose and then drove as I walked by and paused in the street. I feel weird sometimes. I feel like I'm being stalked.
So she feels like she's being followed and stalked. Now, here's the thing. A lot of coincidence theorists and these just weak-minded illogical people, they think there's some kind of magical Dungeons and Dragons spell that protects people that might be having mental issues or drug issues from any kind of foul play in the universe. Like somehow all serial killers or people who are willing to assault criminal-minded individuals, ex-boyfriends, whatever, somehow there's some kind of magical spell that if she is having some kind of paranoid delusions or mental health issues, that somehow, magically, she would not be harmed. I mean, I don't know where this comes from. You see this in the true crime community. There's like, a certain Dunning-Kruger crowd that kind of facilitates these explanations where they're like, oh, no, she wasn't harmed because she's having mental health issues or drug issues. Like, if anything, that would increase her chances of being met by foul play. Because some of these criminal scumbags, they like weaker targets. So if they know that the gullible goofs will easily dismiss this case by saying, oh, it was a drug or mental health issue and not investigate, they know that there's a lot of clueless goofs out there, so it's kind of like the same thing how murderers stage suicides. They know a lot of the clueless goofs, bereft of logic and reason crowd, they'll just write it off. Oh, suicide, no need for investigation. Just like in cases where people might be having mental health or drug issues, which again, I'm not convinced that Emma Fillipoff was, and neither is this PI. Neither are a lot of people. But even if she was, does that increase the likelihood that she would be met with foul play at the hands of some scumbag? So if there's no date here on these journal entries that they're going over, but she feels like she's being followed and stalked. Now, she did happen to have this guy move across the country, coincidentally, who also happened to see her 3 times the day she disappeared. I mean, I don't know what everybody makes of that. We went over him extensively, this Julian character. We're not going to go into him again, but yeah, just if she is feeling like she's being stalked, whether she is or she isn't, there could be some kind of foundation there and not just hallucinations. Maybe they're just unwanted advances by certain individuals, Julian or otherwise, or others. Maybe there's more than one person following her around. Maybe one of them might possibly do her harm, the other might not, but she gets more and more aware. You know, what was that quote from Stephen King? Perfect paranoia is perfect awareness. So if there's 1 or 2 or 3 people following her, maybe not even really following her, but if she keeps seeing them, I mean, that would make anybody kind of seem suspicious. And then when there's a car or whatever, she might just assume it's all the same guy, and there could be 2 or 3 guys, and 1 or 2 of them might be totally innocent, per se, or at least wouldn't harm her, but the other one maybe not. Or even if they're all relatively innocent and they wouldn't harm her, that could get her thinking this way, and then someone else harmed her. Either way, I mean, that is very, very curious, and we do have to keep that in mind. So there is an interview here. This was Nighttime Podcast, March 11th, 2021, episode 10, The Shelter. And in this episode, they interviewed Patty, a woman who stayed at the shelter and knew Emma Fillipoff.
Hi, Patty.
Hi.
how are you?
Good, how are you?
This is like returning back to a lot of things.
Yeah, well, it's
So I publicly want to apologize for insulting you yesterday so much.
That's okay. I have a what they call a thick skin, and I know that I know it wasn't anything personal. It's this is a sensitive story and a sensitive topic.
I was really insulting you. I was very upset because I find some people they're doing videos about Emma, and I got to you. That's how and again, but you know me from a long time ago already, actually.
Yeah, we've spoke before a few years ago when I was really researching Emma's story. I tried to contact you, but I think at that point you were just in the middle of moving. I believe there was something going on. I know you're not originally from Victoria. How did you end up in Victoria back then? What brought you to Victoria?
Well, my husband is from Canada. Our children are half Canadian, half Spanish. Ended up in the shelter because he already had a car accident, so he had something in the mind to like distortions. I called the Ministry of Children to help me because the father was saying certain things. And then the father, he acted like a gentleman. So they took the children away from me and gave it to him. For this 6 months period, when I was in the shelter and I went, later they took it from him because they realized from many people that he's not a bad person. He just had a car accident. And David would be normal, and then he would have what they call it an episode every 6 months, something like this, right? A beautiful man, normal, right? My family on that time was not like oh, just get back together or just try to solve it. First of all, the Sandy Merriman was donated from a drug addict woman that owned that house.
Okay.
To the government to shelter women because she knew she already sheltered women. She was a very friendly woman, and so I was really like, oh my God, like coming from Spain, like really. In Spain, you work or you die.
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay.
That's it. Like that's it in Spain. Like in many countries, the shelters. Of course, there are shelters, but not like this. Some women live there 2 years, coming in and out.
Oh wow. Okay.
Like in the attic is the woman that sleep in the night. The women that are not insulting or that, and they want to recover, get another job. I was thinking after talking to you that all the women in St. Merriman, you know, we might have whatever, many reasons, mental illness, drug addiction, severe mental illness, whatever, can be many reasons, but we all have one thing in common, and that's bad relationship with men. Okay?
Okay.
So, maybe because of all this, or whatever reason, it's always that giggling of female gossiping in the attic because the ladies in Canada are so nice. You know, they're so nice. Like that shelter, people that have really problems with whatever their attitude. But in the attic, you had that jolly feeling when somebody came, so they feel at home and talking what happened to you. And they were really open, you know. Okay, first of all, Emma's not a girl that goes into shelters like all her life. I was first in the shelter. She was the most educated girl, maybe not only the shelter, but Victoria. Like she never hung out with the homeless in the streets. People come from Canada to smoke meth and they're in the streets because of the weather. It's a nice weather. So, and I've never seen Emma. She would never be with anyone, basically. That's from the shelter. So she was very shy. She was the proper girl that is very like conservative, like she has her life, you have yours, like those are private things. And she wouldn't say that, but it's like I guess would be ashamed to just say it, coming from where she's coming from. So I spoke about my life, and I was really, really like trying to make her see or laugh about my situations. Maybe she tells me, and I do remember very well that she was coming because I asked Emma, why are you here? I don't remember. She said her boyfriend, or I think it was her boyfriend, but someone was stalking her and made her stop. So that way she had to stop working. And she came. I don't think she said stalking, but it was bothering her. I don't remember the words. I think she said a boyfriend, or I wish I remember well.
But it had something to do with a guy that she had a bad relationship in some context.
I think she said it was her boyfriend was following her and bothering her, and she had to stop working.
Wow.
She was there because of that. I don't know, the police must have access to the files because they asked us why we come in the shelter.
And what kind of relationship did you have with Emma? So you mentioned you were like in the attic. It seemed like more mature kind of women living there and more stable. You met Emma there. What kind of relationship did you have? Would you consider her your friend?
A friend, not even an acquaintance, because I had a connection with her because I'm also vegetarian, turning into vegan, went very hard. And she was exceptionally beautiful, so you don't need to be an artist to recognize beauty, like. And all the girls too, like in the kitchen when they're eating, and then Emma comes to make her rice and her food, and we would just look at her like, what are you doing in here? You come from a fairy tale, because she has that like whimsical something about her that's very like, in the scenario, especially of the shelter, because the woman there, 80% look very ugly, like non-care. They just gave up, whatever. She had the thing that was like, here I am, well, and they're up here, but it's, you're humans too. Something like that. She wouldn't say it, but you could see her goodness in her. People calling her hippie and all this, like, no, Emma was not a hippie. Like, she looked like a lady that could be married today.
As far as the way Emma was, what was your impression about her lifestyle? Like, you had told me you don't believe she was living a life of homelessness. Did you have any sense of what her life was like outside of the interactions you'd have with her in the shelter?
She absolutely looked like someone who was running away. She more or less, you could tell by the characteristics, but she was very like afraid. She's not the girl that you would see in a shelter at all.
Okay. And you had explained to me you felt like this was a vulnerable time in Emma's life. When you say that, is there any particular thing about her that you felt made her vulnerable? Like some people would say that believe Emma was mentally ill would say she was vulnerable because of illness. But I know you don't believe.
I'm not a psychiatrist. I hope you find a psychiatrist to give you more or less an idea of what the picture was.
Yeah. Did you feel like she was someone that maybe was not safe for some reason?
I'm not saying Emma had mental illness, because what she was put through, let's see who would end up with fear.
Yeah. So,
It's like you're going to see a movie, a horror movie, and then the woman is whatever, looks crazy, right? And now everyone's saying that the woman is crazy. That woman in Canada, no, I don't know. In Victoria, everybody says that people have mental illness like it's normal. In Spain, only a doctor says that. Like, people don't say that about anyone.
Yeah.
We're naturally crazy also, so we allowed our part of ourselves to be to talk nonsense in our arts. So we have sympathy about letting ourselves be loose. In Canada, it's like everyone has to be really nice, and then you have, if somebody is looking at the stars or pushing the lifts in the fall because they love nature. Like, I really want to be here just to say how much I hate Canadians for that.
Yeah.
And now Americans in YouTube.
I understand.
Calling this beautiful, innocent girl, like, oh, this is mentally ill. Yeah, because, like, what is that? It's so disgusting.
Yeah, and that's something you made really clear to me from the beginning, is you don't believe that Emma was suffering from any kind of mental illness. But you also mentioned
I think she had her reasons to be suffering, or, like...
There's a part of Emma's story that you were involved in and you were there for that I really want to hear you talk about, and that is that in the days just prior to Emma's disappearance, it seemed like she was considering going home to her mom in Ontario, and then there was the plan for her mom to come and get her. There's some debate about whether Emma knew that her mother was coming, and if she did know, how she found out.
Emma knew she was coming.
Emma knew, okay.
I was worried for Emma because I could see her state was, I don't know, like Jesus. Let's say what Jesus says, I'm not of this, my kingdom is not of this world. Something like that. Emma was somewhere else. Emma was in another world, okay? She was taking the sunshine. I do meditation, okay? I've been in India. I've done meditation for 40 years. I could be then 4 hours in silence. And I know she was not in this world. I'm coming with my files, like if I'm trying to get my kids, and she's taking the sun. I'm not going to say that's mental illness to be in another world. She's enjoying the sun. She was with no drug addicts, never hanging out with anyone. That was natural. Maybe created by the mind or lack of, I don't know. She slept always in the shelter world, okay? What takes to the man to flip is all those triggers. Putting her in the streets, she is being followed by someone. You know what happens if I'm screaming and threatened to you, that stays here. That stays here again and again. So a way to sometimes avoid crisis is just to disconnect, man. Just go, try to be positive. Well, look at the sunshine. I didn't know anything. I just really thought, this is the tree in front of the courthouse, and you cross the street, and there is the Merriman, and there is Emma sitting in the sunshine, like a little Buddha, The volunteers call her the Golden Girl. You could see her face totally delighted. We would share words because, I would perceive her. You just don't approach someone like that, right? You don't know if the person maybe, is reading a book or wants to be in conversation or stop the book, or she wants to stop the sunshine. She was not reading it, but what I mean is that, so there is a little bit of movement, and then, if there is a gesture, I say hello. So that was always like that. When you're walking and you feel someone behind?
Yeah.
Some people do, some don't. Emma would.
Okay.
All right? Emma would. So we have an instinct. And I told Emma to look for the library, to reach her family. I miss my family so much. As you try, to redirect. I miss my family so much. I mean, they're so annoying, because I could tell, like she has to, we're so different, my family, things like that, because I know your pride when you are doing your life, you're young. It's like, so you can imagine, right? I have something dark, right? I don't have any evidence. This is nothing she told me. I only told Shelley this and some volunteer, because this is talking crazy, like crazy shit.
That's okay.
All right. She had something that I cannot talk about this because she I could see it. I cannot talk because it's not reasonable, But when she was sitting there, I saw her like this is in slow motion. All this information can happen in 3 seconds, all right? But as I approach, but I'm telling you this is dark, okay? This is hard to I cannot say this, but okay. So I felt like her body or soul was just not really like in this realm, right? Like this, she was disattached. And she never has ever said anything crazy, okay? What I'm telling you is my own impression. I'm telling you that I have seen it not like a person, but I have saw it like a force. And then she recognized she's blind, but she can run away from it. Like she's just is always there. This is creepy, okay? She look at me. Now she look at me like, then I surrender and I'm gonna be famous. Okay, this is creepy, but this Shelley has her. I mean, she says, yeah, Emma has that side of her. But I'm not saying it's mental illness, okay? I'm really telling you that's something. And she couldn't. It was like she couldn't escape from it.
In the day of her disappearance, like that morning or the night before, she was aware her mother was coming, as you mentioned. Did she seem like she was panicked or upset about her mom coming? Or did she communicate anything about that?
She was both. She loved the idea of her mother coming. You could see she had a good childhood and connection with her mother. And then she skipped her eyes away, but she never talked about anyone. But you could only catch by her facial expression. By then the change, by then her change, it was drastic. Like the Emma standing straight, she would be more like this. Yeah. Her physical position like this, and she would have forgotten some things. Like she forgot that I lived in the shelter, because I told her I could help you and take you with me, and she kind of hung to my arm. I don't know if I took her but I remember. But her physical position changed. She was looking for help, and she was not the Emma. She's starting to walk with plastic bags up and down from the street of the shelter. They were worried about her. So she didn't remember in her mind state then. She didn't remember that I am also in the shelter, that I don't have nowhere to take her. So she told me, yeah, can I go with you? Like she thought I had a home. You have 1 week emergency bed every 3 months, regardless if you're coming in or out every month. I think you have to be out for 1 month. I don't know. I don't remember. But I know every month your bed is taken out. You have to go out. The other shelter is full of men, drug addicts, and it's horrendous because they look like zombies. And nobody cares. It was one person telling me, yeah, we're calling the mother, but this is out of the book because they shouldn't reach. I explained them, look, you have to get... I cannot explain this well. I need to take some medication to relax my anxiety for this interview.
It's okay.
When I ask them for the bed, they say they're gonna give her the bed, and I push forward. I said she only needs food, space to relax and recover. Like this, she could not return. People like this could not. The mind could get stuck there, not return. She was not talking crazy things. She was not. She was. I know something in her mind because she didn't remember that I don't have a house to bring her.
I understand.
So, and her body and. I mean, okay, they're calling her mother, but they're not giving her a bed. Like, what kind of protocol is that, right? So, okay, I come again with Emma. We are sitting the stairs that go up. The attic is the third floor. But we're sitting on the stairs that is in front of the office that is in the entrance because they said we have to wait. That I don't remember her name. She was chubby in her 30s. She was really like, maybe she was the one trying. And they had like something going on. But they make us wait in the stairs, sitting there. And Emma was starting to retract more and more.
When you and her are waiting on the stairs, how did it end? I understand.
That was the scenario. And another one coming in, maybe, like a white trash. And maybe she has so many men and drugs that there's just another ordinary day there to go there and complain to the office, and then a third. And we're sitting there in the stairs waiting for what? An emergency bed that they're going to kick her out in 1 week anyways. The fear was great. You could feel the fear in Emma. And I was really like, how I'm going to do? Because I was also starting to feel afraid, because I don't want to lose her. But at that moment, I could feel her fear because she was already like retracting, all right? Emma didn't grow up in an aggressive environment to deal through that, okay? Which most of the girls in Merriman were prepared to just be there and, you come from another environment as well. How safe do you feel?
So tell me about Emma running out of the shelter. I've always known this story of her running out and you chasing after her, but I've never heard it in any detail. Can you tell me about when she gave up waiting for an emergency bed and fled?
So she runs out. I run after because I was sharing the fear of Emma. I don't know why, but nobody was watching. No one cared. So she runs out. I run after. There's this gap of grass. Victoria has this beautiful grass that goes along with the walking street. I mean, in Europe, that's a luxury. So I just stopped because I am really like, so I stopped, and here's in the Merriman, there is the walk, all this grass. The courthouse is here, and she's running straight towards the hotel, where I didn't know she had her van or car. I didn't know she had one. Well, I was running after her, but what I'm going to do? I wanted to take her, I wanted to take her and just bring her back. But, I'm a Spanish person. I'm like an immigrant. I don't want problems with the police. And even it's illegal to take someone like that against their will. So she will return tomorrow, I guess, But it was the fall, so it was, for me, it was a moment, also this moment that the time goes very slow, and it creeped me again because it was like a movie. I told you that was like, she had light coloring clothes. I don't know, gray, but with her blonde hair, she didn't have a braid. With all the shoes, so it looked like, it was dark, the darkness of the night. She didn't look to the sides to cross the street, running without shoes. So she looked like a soul. I mean, she looked like a ghost or someone that's not of this world. I really remember, like, oh, this is creepy, like, she's beautiful. I was like, I know you will return, and she was like, no. Hey, that was an impression, like an impression. She didn't say no. I didn't hear no, but I did think, like, you will return, like. But what's the thing? I think in her mind, the social workers not taking care of me when I need it. I still today feel her fear in that moment.
How did you find out she was missing? Do you remember learning that she hadn't?
Next day was the police there and the mother. It was the daytime. So I think I came to eat because I would go there to eat. There was the police, and there was the oh no, yeah, because she was moving things. No, like really, really. And I'm like, really? Of course, her mother would be there. She would have taken her, like, she would have even maybe taken her to a new place if she didn't want to go home, or make her life, The police is there. I was a woman from a shelter and a Spanish person. So it doesn't matter what, it doesn't matter. The police never took my report. The mother at that time was kind of like shocked that her daughter was in a shelter, so I was another woman from a shelter. But the issue here is that the shelter lied about Emma moving things. They put her in the streets. They didn't give her a bed when she had the right to have an emergency bed immediately, because she was vulnerable. Why was she vulnerable? Because she's being stalked. She told me she that's why she was there. She left her job and everything because of that. The police believe the shelter because they work for the government. They believe the reports of the shelter. So they're looking at a woman that, that it changes the whole picture. This is a lie. The shelter did a big mistake here, and the police has to know. The police has to know the real situation of Emma Fillipoff. This was not Emma. I think she had the right to be afraid, and fear doesn't let you think well, I guess,
Let me ask, like, as much as you know about Emma in her time just prior to her disappearance, have you ever come up with any opinion on where you think she is or what may have happened? Do you have any idea?
Of course I know. I don't only have an idea. I will only need the evidence to take me there.
So what is it?
Well, I wish the police and the investigation follow the clues. It's too easy to see that. It's very easy, even if you were not there. So,
Yeah, this has been amazing. You answered a lot of the questions that I had about that period of time in Emma's life. So
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's my obsession.
Well, there's no question that you were there at some pivotal moments, and you did the right thing by trying to get help for Emma.
Thank you, anyways, to Cindy Merriman, who gave me shelter. Thank you to the people in Canada. Thank you to the volunteers who are still there. Thanks to you, really. And for Julian, I don't know.
Whoa. What?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You could be so much to the world in this plane.
I thank you for talking to me.
Bye.
Hold on. What?
Yeah, what her exact words were, and I'm sorry to Julian. I'm sorry you could be so much in this plane. That's what she
Wait,
said.
is that what she said? Have you listened to that several times?
Yeah, and it's when you, it may have seemed like when you listen there that I kind of like jumped
I just heard
in and
thank you
wrapped
to
up.
Julian. Like I didn't really hear the.
I'll play the final part
Can you
again.
play? Can you play that? Can you just play that again?
Yeah, and it sounds a bit like I'm jumping in, but what ended up happening was there was a big long silence that I clipped out of there.
Yeah.
And it was, to me, I felt like at this part of the conversation,
It was over.
it was over, but she was very clearly, like, cautiously choosing her words. So I can only, in my mind, absolutely she has something she wanted to say that didn't come out because it was.
Okay, well, can you footnote that because I want to come back to that earlier in the clips too.
Yeah, cool. So let's
This
listen
is
to that.
fucking wild. Pardon my French.
I'm gonna
Jesus.
listen to that part one more time.
Yeah, I want to hear that again. Play it again.
Love
Oh, okay, one sec. Where we go?
even if you were not there. So, you know.
Yeah, this has been amazing. You answered a lot of the questions that I had
I know.
about that period of time in Emma's life. So
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's my obsession.
well, there's no question that you were there at some pivotal moments, and you did the right thing by trying to get help for Emma.
Thank you, anyways, to Cindy Merriman, who gave me shelter.
That's so bizarre.
Thank you to the people in Canada. Thank you to the volunteers who are still there.
Here it comes.
Thanks to you, really. And for Julian.
Okay, so
I don't
did you ask her?
know.
Did you not follow up? Did you not ask her why? Thank
I
you,
don't
Julie.
know. I'm sorry. I'm
Because
sorry.
that sounds like an acceptance speech. Like that's very much like. Okay, so did you ask her about that at all after? Like why? How did you know Julian at least?
I did.
And where did it go from there?
She knew who he was. She knew the story. And I asked her if why she mentioned him when she was giving her thanks, and she didn't answer that question.
Like, did she just totally skirt it, or did she just go on?
Talked about other unrelated things. And I asked several times, and at this point, our reception was getting as bad as it was. And
you're like 2.5 hours in.
And we were an hour and 40 minutes into what was supposed to be a 45-minute talk. But that was like a really important part. So I tried to get more out of her, but really like what you hear there is the best that I had.
Okay, so from this interview with Patty here, we learn a bit. So Patty stated she knew her mother was coming and that she had mixed feelings about it. So she liked it and was excited on one side, and then there was also some reservation. Patty also clearly stated that the general, after the interviewers that are interviewing her, there's no sense that Emma Fillipoff was having a mental breakdown or there were any mental issues. specifically in that direction, because again, that's what it's been painted at from the outside, and a lot of people kind of latched onto that. But again, I never really bought that from the beginning. Now again, I'm not saying that there wasn't a mental health issue. I'm just saying I don't see any conclusive evidence of that. So there's no real reason to believe that. Again, the burden of proof is always on positive claims. I mean, it's logic 101. Yeah, anybody could be having a mental breakdown at any time. I'm not denying that. I'm not saying anyone is or isn't. But if you're going to believe the positive, if you're going to, that positive claim, she's having mental health issues, she's paranoid, etc., maybe not. But there's just not enough evidence to definitively believe that. And it seems like every single person that's been coming out has been corroborating that. And the other issue here, so she's being kicked out of the shelter. That's pretty alarming. Is this part of the reason the shelter doesn't want to say anything? I mean, she's using the main office for various phone calls, Emma Fillipoff is. And so that's the reason she went out and got the burner phone. I mean, it's starting to make more sense now. She's being kicked out of the shelter here for these various issues. Now, again, Patty's English is not perfect, so some of it is a little bit difficult, and her level of understanding of all these things and being able to clearly elucidate her ideas and everything she knows. And again, we don't really know Patty's history. She seems like she's trying to be honest, though, so I mean, again, as far as I can tell, it's just there's certain, obviously, roadblocks in that direction. She also, I mean, it's kind of heartbreaking to even listen to this interview on how scared Emma was. Like, she could feel her fear. And that's, I mean, this is scary stuff. This is scary stuff. And so she's clearly distraught on a certain level regarding this. And there also seems to be something going on in the background that Patty picked up on, but we don't have exact details here because Emma, again, she's a private person, as described by many people. So she's not just going to tell everybody her business. So there's something going on in the background. And it's very clear a lot of people do not believe it is a mental health issue. So the burner phone that she's getting, or, you know, not burner phone, the phone she's getting so she could make phone calls because she's getting kicked out of the shelter, allegedly, if this is what is going on here. Now, on the Nighttime Podcast YouTube, regarding this episode with Patty, there are some interesting comments here by Ian W. I think we have to take what Patty says with a grain of salt and understand that she may have negative experiences with the shelter, and so she may have a motive to dispute their narrative. That being said, I do believe her in that regard, because if she had a negative experiences with the shelter, it makes me believe that some shady stuff was happening there. It makes perfect sense to me that they made Emma look disruptive via moving furniture out into the street as a means to justify giving her the boot. And I mean, that's really messed up. Someone should dig into their policy surrounding disruption. In terms of after she fled, to me, it's a no-brainer why she picked up a prepaid credit card and burner phone. She obviously didn't want her movement to be traced electronically, but also because she no longer could use the office phone at the shelter. The bigger question is, who would have access to her accounts to see where purchases were made? It's not uncommon for millennials to be supported by their parents late into their 20s, and given her lifestyle, I imagine her parents supported her financially to some degree. Perhaps she didn't want her parents tracking her whereabouts throughout her credit card statement. Since she had no address, the bill may have been sent to her parents. All signs point to her avoiding her parents in my mind. She knew her mother was coming to pick her up. I personally believe she was like, okay, I'm going to go get a room at a hostel or hotel for the night, and she wanted to use an alias. I'm reaching, maybe, but that's what I think. There's nothing there to suggest she didn't anticipate being around anymore. She borrowed library books, meaning she intended to read them and return them. She left her personal belongings in her van and bought a phone, obviously, for future use. I wonder if the phone was ever used. Now, Miss Bean M. Bean responded here. She picked up the credit card and prepaid phone before trying to get a bed at the shelter. The prepaid phone has never been used. They investigated that. It's only the credit card that supposedly an alcoholic used some days later, who first claimed to have found it at the Wan Center and then said he had no idea how he got it. So some people are disputing this because, yeah, I mean, we really don't know the timeline of the shelter, though. Did she really pick up the prepaid card and phone before the issues at the shelter? But we really don't know. I mean, just another heartbreaking comment here from Suzanne. She tried to call her mom for help a few times. Even though she tried to fix her problems herself, she seemed to be in that place that she could not get around the fact that she needed help. I think she purchased the phone so that she could contact help, her mom, whenever it would get too bad. Unfortunately, it seems she never got the chance to call for help, and after learning that her mom was coming, she was relieved, but maybe her irritation came from the fact that she was worried about someone hurting her mom, and thus she planned to leave somewhere safe and then calling her mom. And that's, I mean, yeah, that's a crazy theory, and thus even more heartbreaking on how, if that's true, that means Emma Fillipoff was, of course, thinking of the needs of others ahead of her own, and also that there may have been someone in her life, or more than one someone, who was stalking her or possibly trying to harm her, or at least she thought that that was the case, even if it wasn't. Huh. Pamela has a comment here. She was very frugal, hence she would never spend hundreds of dollars on a hotel room. It's most likely the reason that she stayed at the shelter. I have a friend with over $400,000 in her bank account, and she will sleep in her car while traveling. Interesting comment there from Pamela. Angie posted that Patty is suspicious. Again, I don't know. There's a lot of issues here. The shelter does seem to be pretty shady. I'm going to go over another issue here. This is also from Reddit several years ago. Someone posted this. Wasn't there talk of her working for an escort agency or taking an interest in that kind of work around the time she went missing? Also, someone mentioned her seeing her in Spain with the exact location. That information has been quickly removed, but why? Again, I'm not claiming any of this is true or untrue. These are just posts on Reddit. Renee posted this. Yes, Charlie's Angels Escort Service. There was mention that she may have been in contact with this place or people the afternoon of her disappearance. Also, Charlie's Angels was mentioned in her emails and or journals. And is this one of the smoking gun pieces of evidence the PI was referring to? And yes, there are many things that suddenly go missing from the Facebook page Help Find Emma if people ask too many questions. If they have theories that do not coincide with what the mother wants to portray of Emma. All I am saying is that there is a lot of very important information being hidden, which is absolutely crazy. This information could be the key to finding Emma. Many people from many walks of life involved in different ways, all these people putting their thoughts together and bumping ideas off one another is fabulous. Unfortunately, it isn't allowed to happen. Only if you agree with what the mother wants are you allowed to make comments. The mother is hiding information and trying to control how Emma is seen and what information is out there. She pushes mental illness and a loving relationship. Emma left home at 16. Her and her mother have not seen each other in person for well over a year. They hadn't even spoke on the phone for over a year up until days prior to the disappearance. The mother is making it out to be that the family was all butterflies and roses. It was dysfunctional. The brother was involved in heavy-duty drugs, and the drugs being hidden in the mother's home without her knowing, ? The father marrying a girl younger than Emma. Is that true? There are so many possibilities, so many hidden secrets. It is unfortunate when hundreds of, if not more, people have dedicated years or months to Emma's search only to be told partial truth. It is a waste of people's precious time. If Emma is to be found, the mother is the key. She needs to let out the truth and trying to control what people think of Emma. Emma was an artsy, creative, wandering soul, not a family-oriented person, as the mother says. And where was the family? Why have the siblings, father, or extended family ever helped with search efforts? ? And do we know that they haven't? I mean, I don't know. It would be curious to get more information from other friends and relatives of Emma back home, and if they, what they say. Here's another cryptic post on Help Find Emma Fillipoff page. This was posted in 2014. I was there in the shelter, and I have tried much to bring consciousness about her state. She had a mental breakdown and day by day more paranoia. If the other is aware, if the way she truly wanted to run away and was so afraid, she wanted her mother to come, and in a second she was very afraid. And it is the truth, no one has listened to me. She would not go to a male's shelter, she avoided men. She was running away for her freedom, running away from something, and I will bring discrimination for the system and the way mental health, social workers, and even parents don't find healthy solutions to people who are touched by a certain divine, or they are much different and possible to control. Caregivers and institutions make it worse. I was enchanted by the beauty of this girl and wished to care so much for her, and no one listened. Perhaps so difficult to understand. Emma did not belong to this earth, social reality. She was in a realm of sunshine, taking sunshine under the tree before that breakdown. Emma did not consume any drugs and never hung out with anyone that did. She went to the gym as I had told her to go. I did not wish her to be among the people in the shelter. Now the mother asks for her daughter, I ask for truth, and to advocate for new laws in the system so people like her don't have to end in this way. When she vanished, running before my eyes, I could not believe what I had been seeing, but I had been seeing an angel tortured by something against her nature, and she would not give her nature away. All my respect and wishes of glory to see her reunited with such a beautiful daughter. I could tell she was a very well-educated young female and came from much love. I'm so sorry to not know where she is. And thank you for this space. The ladies from the shelter wanted to reunite every month before the Empress just to pray for her return. I was helping to organize this event, but I'm not in Victoria now. Okay, so it doesn't seem like English is this person's first language. So she was at the shelter, but she didn't want Emma to be among the ladies in the shelter because why? Was something weird going on in the shelter? But then again, or by the people who run the shelter and not the people staying at the shelter. Is that what that means? Because she's saying that she helped organize events from the ladies from the shelter that reunited. So did she mean that the people running the shelter are the people that she didn't want Emma to be part of or around? What does that mean? So, okay, this is MINDSHOCK, so I am going to float this last dark theory here. Is it possible that one individual, or possibly more than one, at the women's shelter was possibly procuring women for the escort service? Or served as some kind of liaison, not necessarily against their will, but just offered options for money, which is, of course, I don't know, that's probably not a good thing to do to people who are in that state in their life, because, I don't know, it's so weird. The whole thing's so weird. Or were they coerced into some kind of escort services? And for the women who are staying at the shelter that possibly know of this link, if there is a link, again, I am not alleging there is or isn't a link here. But if there is, or maybe possibly Emma was considering it, ultimately refused, whatever, which caused some issues, and then they wanted to harm her because of that. Or maybe they were just trying to strong-arm her in the first place into this line of work that she didn't want to be in. Is that a possibility? Or did she unknowingly find something out about the shelter and their connections to something possibly criminal, or if not criminal, at the very least shady? Is that a possibility? And they used any excuse they could to just kick her out of the shelter at that point. And how much do we really know of like all these activities at the shelter at all in the first place? It's just, this is such a major question mark, and the fact that investigation wasn't done. Now, if you want to go really crazy on the corruption conspiracy angle, if the police know about it and they're getting kickbacks, of course they're not going to investigate this. Now, to all the coincidence theorists that say that would never happen, come on. Unfortunately, there is corruption within police and government agencies, and it does involve human trafficking. Again, in the post-Epstein era, the post-Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell era, coincidence theorists really don't have a leg to stand on while trying to pretend and hallucinate that this kind of corruption can't and doesn't exist. So if there is some kind of shady corruption situation with shelters, not just that one, but other shelters, and possibly the police, and possibly, this is just like a really, really scary conspiratorial movie, because the police that talked to Emma, so they never released that, and they don't want to release any information on Emma or that case. Is that because there was some kind of situation between the shelter and possibly an escort agency and possibly some kind of connections to crime, which may or may not intersect political areas? Is that a possibility? This is MINDSHOCK. The only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure, and the truth is not afraid of investigation. So I'm going to leave everyone with those thoughts to ponder on just more theories. on what could have happened. And I think the shelter and the van and the situation with the van and her belongings in the van, I think those are the two critical pieces. I mean, there's many others. Obviously, the friends she might have stayed with, and apartments, and some of their stories don't make sense. I went over that in the previous episodes. There's a lot of weird stuff going on in the case. Now, and I'm not saying the weird stuff is directly connected to the disappearance. I'm saying it's difficult to know which weird stuff would be connected. It's kind of hard to say none of the weird stuff in any of these issues are connected. I mean, it would seem at least one of them would be the avenue that would be connected to her disappearance. And, so I'm going to leave you guys with that. Hope you guys enjoyed another edition of the MINDSHOCK podcast in the Emma Fillipoff series. If you enjoy the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. You could also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the channel that way. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Questions, comments, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.